Welcome, everyone, to Living in Faith. I'm your host, Giovanna Tardarone.
And I am your co-host, Pablo Sanchez.
Welcome, Pablo. Welcome, everyone. Today's show, we're going to be talking about how do we gain inner peace. And there's three letters, three words that start with the same letter: faith, forgiveness, and freedom. Pablo, how do we do this? How do we use these three words and really help us to grow the peace that we want inside?
To begin with, Gigi, I think that they all talk about the ability to get closer to God.
Mm,
And the very first thing that we need to do is to be vibrating at His level. And at His level, you have already forgiven for anything has happened to you. It is amazing how many people dwell with resentment, and then how people next thing you know they get sick, all because of the resentment of a lack of forgiveness. The lack of forgiveness in the Bible, whether it's forgiving yourself or forgiving others.
I was just going to say that. Did you read my mind? Because forgiveness does start with forgiving ourselves. Because we always say crazy things about, why did we do that? We were so stupid, and we criticize ourselves. We're our worst critic. So to look at those experiences we had as lessons and then move on and not hold on to those is crucial for us to open the doors to receive that inner peace.
Well, so therefore, the very first thing that we do is we have to recognize that we need to ask God for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So when we ask God for forgiveness, it is completely amazing, Gigi. Just like when you ask God for anything, you just need to ask Him one time. One time,
Mm.
you ask God for forgiveness, and then immediately go straight into just thanking Him because He has already forgiven you. It is completely amazing how when you believe in that, see, there's your other one, right? Your faith. Your faith, believing that God has already forgiven you no matter what it is that you have done, it is completely amazing. Now, let's think about the time that we're going through right now. We're coming up on the resurrection right now. Just before Christ uh, died on the cross for our sins. He did say to everyone, God, please forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Right? Imagine that. God being the best example for all of us right now, telling us about the act of forgiveness. So He's being the best example, showing us that we need to, He's saying, forgive them first. Look at that. Before anything
Mm.
else. So, and the same thing happens with us. So the first thing that we need to do in order to have that inner peace is ask God for forgiveness. And then what will follow is really reach out to someone that there's some type of resentment that you're holding back, right? And say, look, I know it's your fault, but I know that I forgive you.
Well, remember, Wayne Dyer, and I always say this quote. He says, "It's not the snake bite that kills you; it's the venom you hold inside."
Oh my,
Right. So the venom is having resentments, like you just said, and
oh,
it's hurting only the inner peace ourselves. Where when we think about it.
no, when I think of right now, thank you very much, Gigi. I'm gonna pay you royalties every time I use that, okay?
That's the truth, though. It is the truth. And I'll send it over to Dyer Foundation. But yes, it is. It's so true that
It,
when we hold resentment, it's only really affecting us.
I mean, let's talk about the story of David, right? David and Bathsheba, right? David, he actually even killed Bathsheba's husband, the captain, right? And
Hmm.
soon after that, he he knew that he did wrong, and the venom that he was holding inside made him sick, made him very sick, and then he ended up coming back to God, asking for forgiveness. And when he asked for forgiveness, he says that God restored his health. completely amazing. So how that lack of forgiveness, the venom that you're holding inside, is was it could make you sick, can make you sick,
That's true.
it can cloud your mind with respect to anything you want to do. If you want to get into believing, you cannot even start to believe on anything because your mind is completely clouded. You can
Yeah.
try, but you will not achieve that until you go through that stage of forgiveness. But once again, the secret in forgiveness is asking God for forgiveness, and then after that, just going to the assumption that He has already forgiven you. You will see that God is faithful, and He's going to say, look at Pablo, that's exactly what I want him to do. Is he has to know, everybody has to know that I have already forgiven you for that. I've already
Right.
forgiven you for that. You don't need to go back and continue asking God for forgiveness for the same thing. Similarly, like if you need something in your life, you ask God one time. God has already given. God knows what you need. As a matter of fact, He created that. He knows everything, beginning to the end. He knows what you need. He knows exactly when you're going to ask, and that you need it. It is in His perfect timing. But the thing is, you need to ask Him. You need to
Yes.
ask Him. It is amazing how, because a lack of forgiveness for ourselves, we say we do not deserve that. And because we do not deserve that, we do not ask God for anything. And next thing you know, you have all of these things that you will never see because you never asked. So you can ask for God for anything. And the same thing, ask for God one time, and then automatically go straight into gratitude. When you go into gratitude, you're saying, God, for you, for me, everything's impossible. For you, everything is possible. Here we go. And it really works. I mentioned that. Well, I'll tell a quick story. My daughter, she had the baby in December, and then when I went in to visit her and in her apartment, it turns out that she's living in a one-bedroom apartment, and the windows were looking at another brick wall, and the place was all dark, very small kitchen. It made me want to cry. It made me want to cry, I. And then I did not tell my wife. I did not tell my daughter. Look, I'm gonna say a prayer so that you can, so God will grant you, in a nice big apartment and this and that. I didn't say that. I just asked God to please help my daughter. This happened in January. The baby was born December 27th. I went to visit them in the apartment in January. That's when I first saw that. January. This past Tuesday, Gigi, she moved into a beautiful two-bedroom apartment. Windows just like this, huge like this. Every single room has windows. Two bedrooms, a washer, dryer, everything. And
So beautiful.
what she's paying is just $1,500 a month. It's completely amazing how God likes to outdo Himself with these things. Now, the thing is that I only asked one time. It really helps to be specific as to what you're asking for, but I just asked for it to help. But God knows better. He likes to outdo Himself. So, just do things like that. He gave her this beautiful two-bedroom, a
Yeah.
washer, dryer, everything. Look at the low rent, everything, just like that. And I believe that He did this because He knows I have a big mouth. And I'm going to give testimony to the fact that God is right here with us. And you need to ask Him one time. And then as soon as you do that, go straight into gratitude. Thank Him. Because for you, it might be impossible. But for Him, everything is possible. The same thing with forgiveness. Ask Him for forgiveness one time. He has already forgiven you. And I take this whole lessons from my dear pastor. My pastor, I had a situation, and I, I, I had done everything that I could on my own, and I couldn't do anything else. I could just make it worse. So what I did is I called the pastor, and the pastor suggested to me, Pablo, God has already taken care of it. Okay, and then just go ahead and thank Him for it because He has already taken care of it. I was shocked that he said that's like, come on, Pastor, I called you because I thought you were going to say a big prayer for me and this and that. You're going to lay hands on me. And all you're telling me, He's already taking care of it. All I had to do was believe, Gigi. All I had to do was
I
believe,
was just gonna
be-
say that.
believe that God has already done that. I had no choice. If I would have done it, I had already done everything. That's how I went to the pastor. But he did not do this big, hold hands and nothing. He just told me I had to believe that God has already done it for me. So you have to believe that God has forgiven you for whatever it is you have done. It is completely true also. It is completely true that the devil does exist, and he is very astute guy. He's a very astute guy. He will come back to you. He will knock on your door, and he says, "Pablo, you remember you don't deserve that because you remember this thing that you did over there, right? And there were the things they did. He will remind you of things that you did when you were, when you were a child. Never mind. I don't know.
Grown man.
I'm a grown man. I'm a grown man. Now that I'm a grown man. Look at it, right? I
Yeah.
all those experiences, a lot of things that he could very well bring back to my attention and say, "Hey, you're not worthy of this thing." But you have to believe that God has forgiven you. It is God's wishes. It is His purpose in your life, and that's what we're going to do this thing, right? So,
I love that.
so by getting into this whole forgiveness, asking God for forgiveness first, and then get into, and it really does help to make the phone call to someone, say, "Hey, you know, I just want you to know that whatever happened over here, I have put this behind me, and I just." And you know what's good? To tell someone, God told me to call you and tell you that to make this phone call, for me to say I'm sorry. That your ego, our ego, is straight from the devil. The ego is the one that tells us, don't call him. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just wrong. What is that all about? What is
You're
that?
a bigger person. You're a bigger person if you open up your heart to, ask for forgiveness or say I'm sorry. A lot of people don't know how to say I'm sorry or don't want to say I'm sorry because of the ego, right? But I just want to take a step back. You said before believing, faith, forgiveness, and freedom. We cannot touch them. It's not something that we can say it's in a thing. It's a state of mind. And so is inner peace. It's a state of mind. So, what are you giving up by choosing to have faith, forgiveness, or freedom of your life? Nothing. It's your state of being. And when we can be in peace, it's because we understand that it's our choice. At the end of the day, we have to take the action to live in faith and forgive and be in freedom and live in freedom within a peace,
The,
right?
the
So
one
you can't see it.
the one thing that helps us in this whole thing is, once again, I'm choosing Jesus Christ as my best example, being humble. Right? If you're a humble person, you will not let the ego get the best of you. Being a humble person, you will let the other person says, "Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right." Let it pass. Being humble, you're saying, "I will ask for forgiveness. I know I didn't do anything wrong, but I want to be at peace with everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for forgiveness." So, being humble. God wants us all to be very,
Mhm.
very humble. So we need to do that. And when you, when we attempt to be more like God, the closer we are to achieving that life that we're looking for.
Absolutely. And what just also came to mind is that if you really think about it, you're not angry at the person, you're angry at the thing that happened between you and the person. And if you have the anger and you're holding on to something, there's separation there, right? You're separating yourself. You're not seeing yourself come together. So being humble, being non-judgmental to the person and try to work out whatever situation occurred keeps you together, locked in and connected. But it's if you're not forgiving, you're not opening up the doors to come together. You're keeping the doors shut and the separation happens. And then when the separation happens, this is where there's no peace, because you go your way, the other person goes their way, and you leave, you know, unsettled, your mind takes over, and you start creating stories about who said what and he said what, and it is all about the ego. So if we can put that on the side and build the relationship instead of keeping a separation is
And
ideal for the inner peace.
I think what we're also talking about is a great opportunity to talk about how our mind is really a battleground. It's a battleground where it's
Yeah.
always about, you can we're the ones that get to choose the thoughts that we keep, that we keep captive, right? Right.
Yes.
We can choose to be humble, or we can choose the ego and go the other way. And being humble is the same with God. The ego
Yeah.
is all about the human aspect, and it's really about the devil. El diablo,
Absolutely.
diablo, el diablo.
Nice segue into the Spanish, letting them know what we said, of course.
Sí, muy buenas. Hoy día estamos hablando de un camino poderoso en cómo debemos emprender para alcanzar la paz interior a través del perdón. La paz interior a través del perdón. Gigi usó tres palabras que empiezan con la B. Believe, was the three words that you said? Believe, forgive, and,
Faith and freedom.
oh, yes, con la F. Ajá. Estamos hablando de la fe, hablando de la fe. Bueno, lo primero que estaba diciendo es que para poder tener esa libertad que estamos buscando, que estamos diciendo a través de nuestra fe, y el perdón, podemos llegar a esa libertad. Lo primero que yo dije es que empecemos con el perdón, empecemos con Jesucristo, como Jesucristo ha sido el mejor ejemplo para nosotros en esto. Estamos empezando con el perdón. El perdón, en inglés es will set you free. El perdón le va a liberar, nos liberará. Entonces, el gran ejemplo es de Jesucristo. Ahora en esta semana que estamos aquí llegando a la resurrección, cuando Jesucristo fue crucificado, él lo que dijo, y el gran ejemplo es que dice, Dios perdónales porque ellos no saben lo que hacen. De igual manera nosotros también, ese es el gran ejemplo, de igual manera nosotros también como humanos, nosotros tenemos el mal defecto de quedarnos con el resentimiento. Ese resentimiento de veras causa ansiedad. Lo que Gigi dijo es que el resentimiento, que a veces cuando una culebra le ataca a uno, eso del masticarle no es lo que le mata a uno, sino el veneno que se queda adentro. Ese veneno es el resentimiento que uno tiene de cualquier cosa que ha sucedido. Entonces, cuando uno se mantiene con ese veneno en dentro, uno se enferma, le trae toda clase de enfermedades, ansiedades a cada uno de nosotros. Entonces, para usted poder llegar a ese momento de fe, porque ¿qué es lo que pasa? Si usted no ha perdonado, entonces lo que sucede es que usted no puede irse al próximo nivel. El próximo nivel es el donde usted quiere alcanzar, pero si usted tiene que pasar por la parte del perdón primero. Entonces, tenemos que perdonar antes de seguir adelante. Entonces, primero, tenemos que pedir perdón a Dios por todo lo que nosotros hemos hecho mal. Entonces, ahora viene el truco. El truco es bien grande. Es que Dios, Él nada más quiere que usted le pida perdón. Y es pedir perdón una vez nada más. Una vez. No es regresar cada día pidiendo perdón por algo que usted hizo hace 10 años. Eso no es así. Dios es fiel. Dios nos perdona. No nos está recordando a nosotros de algo que nosotros hicimos en el pasado. Ese es el diablo. El diablo le quiere recordar a usted de todas las cosas que hizo hace 10, 20 años, porque él quiere detenerle a usted. Él no quiere que usted salga a la luz. Él quiere mantenerle a usted en la oscuridad. Entonces, por esa razón es que nosotros tenemos que pedir perdón a Dios y después definitivamente tenemos que, si tuvo un argumento con alguien, especialmente un familiar, coger una llamada y decir, lo que sucedió aquí fue mi culpa, aunque no fue su culpa, fue mi culpa, pero yo sí extraño esta amistad. O tal vez también lo que yo hago es decir, Dios me dijo que te llame y que te pida perdón por ese mal entendimiento que tuvimos. Ahí está. Usted siquiera ha hecho su parte. Después de que haga su parte, el resto ya usted va a sentir la libertad esa. Y después de que vea que ya ese resentimiento se vaya, entonces ahí las tinieblas esas donde usted ha estado viviendo se van a aclarar. Y ahí usted tiene ya el derecho de poder acercarse a Dios y pedir cualquier cosa que usted quiera. De igual manera como usted se acercó a Dios a pedirle perdón, usted puede acercarse a Dios a pedirle los deseos de su corazón. Ahora, los deseos de su corazón deben estar de acuerdo con el propósito que Dios tiene para usted. Dios le va a dar esos deseos. Esos deseos siempre le van a dar en su debido tiempo, y no es que es así a la orden. No viene con DoorDash, ¿ok? Your wishes don't come with DoorDash.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
It's in God's a good timing. Es en el tiempo debido de Dios. Cuando Él dice, Dios tiene control de todo. Dios tiene control de todo. Pero si usted pide, ya ha pasado el perdón, ha pedido algo. Ahora, consideren esto. Hay tanta gente que no ha pedido el perdón, y porque no ha pedido el perdón, piensan que no se merecen algo que ellos quieren. No solamente que algo quieren para ellos mismos, puede ser para su hija, su hijo, su familia. Ustedes piensan que no se merecen porque algo un resentimiento que tengan. Ahora, imagínense, Dios dice, te perdonó desde apenas lo hiciste, Él ya te perdonó. Ahora, pero usted tiene que pedir perdón. Ahora, Él tiene ahí todos sus deseos, pero usted tiene que pedir esos deseos. Ahora, un truquito ahí también. Cuando usted lo pide con toda fe a Dios, y lo que está diciendo, apenas lo pide, usted se va en agradecimiento. Cuando usted entra en agradecimiento, usted está diciendo, Dios Padre Todopoderoso, para mí es imposible, pero para ti todo es posible. Todo es posible. Entonces, por eso te estoy agradeciendo, porque el deseo mío ya me lo has concedido. Yo voy a esperar en tu tiempo divino, papito Dios, en tu tiempo divino. Va a ser así. Entonces, cualquier cosa que usted esté pidiendo, papito Dios, yo digo, Él está en el cielo diciendo, mírale a Pablo, él nada más pide y ya se va directamente a agradecerme. Dice, esa es una fe bien grande. Yo le voy a dar lo que me está pidiendo. Esto sucedió conmigo y con mi hija. En diciembre 27 me hizo abuelo. Entonces, en enero me fui a visitar el apartamentito de ella. Estaba viviendo en un apartamento de un dormitorio. El apartamentito no tenía ventanas y la única ventana que tenía se veía la parte de atrás del otro edificio. Era un apartamentito oscuro, una cocina bien chiquita, todo lo más chiquito, sin exagerar, muy chiquito, que me dio mucha pena y hasta me dio ganas de llorar. Yo no le dije nada a ella, no le dije nada a mi esposa, mira cómo me siento, no. Yo me fui y le pedí a Dios que por favor le ayude a mi hija. No tuve que decirle los detalles porque él vio lo que yo vi. Nada más le pedí que le ayude. Ni terminé eso y me entré en agradecimiento. Empecé a agradecerle a Dios porque Él ya había solucionado esto. Eso es cierto, Dios sabe nuestro principio y sabe nuestro final. Van a creer que la semana pasada mi hija se mudó a un apartamento de 2 dormitorios. Cada dormitorio tiene ventanas así de grandes. Tiene lavadora y secadora en el apartamento, tiene todas las comodidades, es un edificio completamente nuevo. Es algo asombroso, asombroso lo que Dios hizo. Yo digo que a Papito Dios le gusta enseñar que cuando uno cree lo bondadoso que es, y Él sabe que yo tengo una boca grande, y yo voy a venir aquí y le voy a decir al mundo entero que Dios está aquí. Pídale lo que usted quiera, lo que ustedes pidan, pidan con mucha fe. Pero aquí, el secreto, primero el perdón. Pídele al Papito Dios el perdón por cualquier cosa que usted ha hecho. Entonces busque la persona que usted ha herido, cualquier cosa siente herida, y después de eso van a ver cómo todo va a fluir. Todo va a fluir. Cualquier cosa que usted tenga en su corazoncito, pídale a Dios. Pide el perdón, pide lo que usted desee. Dios es fiel. God is faithful. Whatever it is that you want, everything begins with forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness will set you free. Isn't that right, Gigi?
Let it go and let God in, right? So,
Oh! Whoa! Whoa!
thank you.
Whoa! Gigi. I did,
I,
I did not
it's
realize
so
that.
beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Oh, well, you know what? We're speaking the truth. We're speaking God's words that we need to relate to everyone because we need some more peace in this world. And it starts with us. We can't look outside for peace. Peace is in here,
Inner
right?
peace. Inner
So
peace. Yes.
inner peace starts with us. And so we have to take the action. We need to be like God and treat each other like family versus enemies because again enemy is the devil separating us from God, and this is not the way we should live, right? So we're going to close this show to an end. The final words real quick.
The Holy Spirit lives within us. That is the Holy Trinity. That's God within us. The more we get to know Him, the closer we get to Him, and we're going to let Him out. That's really a beautiful thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Until next week. See you later.